Hey, welcome to module 1.3 of this course on how to optimize factors of production for a farming enterprise. And in this module, we just briefly introduce the 6 stages of a farming enterprise. Now, when someone is actually about to start a farming enterprise, there's what we call the pre-establishment stage. That's stage 1. And this is where you actually begin to plan how you are going to go about your farming journey. What exactly are you going to farm? So a lot of research. Once you have a bit of a clear understanding of exactly what you're going to farm, this is also the stage where you also acquire land. I'm a project finance expert as well, and in project finance we say there's no project without a place. So simply put, if you want to farm, you certainly need to make sure that you acquire some land. And then once all that is put together, the planning stages, you move on to stage 2, which is the actual establishment of the farming enterprise. So you actually get on the ground. And like I always say, farming is about action research. Unfortunately, you cannot farm on paper in Excel. So everything else that you actually did in stage 1, which is the planning stage, and all those fancy models that you actually do in Excel, things looking good, you do projections, it's now actually time to test them on the ground. This is where you actually get some kind of proof of concept. You begin to establish also best infrastructure, very critical stage, which unfortunately guzzles quite a lot of resources. This is a stage that is notorious for guzzling people's gratuities, pensions, and the like. And then once you are done with setting up that farming enterprise in terms of the best infrastructure, you actually move now into actual production. And this is the stage that I call the survival stage. Because look, you haven't been farming. You're actually getting into this space, trying to discover exactly what you're going to do. So even you yourself, you're trying to immerse yourself in this enterprise for the first time, whether it's chicken rearing, or any other enterprise that you actually get involved into. So this is typically called the survival stage because then you are testing out quite a lot of things. You do probably sweet pepper farming, you do tomato farming, see how things work out. You get real baptism on tutor diseases, you try out cabbage farming, and then get face to face with the likes of Diamond Black Moth, DBM. So lots of things that you get involved into, be it on the livestock stage. And then after some time, it's expected that you'd actually realize exactly what's very good for you, based on your resources, and even intellectual resources, by the way, not just money. So after that survival stage, the expectation is that you'd actually pick what you'd focus on in your farming journey going forward. Because unfortunately, if you keep trying things, that's a recipe for disaster. So after the survival stage, we actually get into the 4th stage, which is now what we call early growth. So with early growth, now this is where you've now focused on, I'm going to do piggery, I'm going to do, chickens, what kind of chickens, egg layers, or you're going to do broiler chickens. If it's on the horticulture side, like ourselves, you actually pick out 1 or 2 crops that you're going to do, whether you become an expert in sweet pepper farming, iceberg lettuce, or you're going to go the fruit way. Then you begin to incrementally now increase a bit, and then that takes you now into the next stage, which is rapid growth. Now you know what to do in early growth. Now you're actually looking at increasing your hectareage, the population of the plants, and obviously optimizing quite a number of systems in the way you farm. Remember, there's a term that sounds derogatory, but unfortunately it actually explains that phenomena very well. Farming like headless chicken, when you're actually getting into early to rapid growth, the expectation is that there must be sanity in the way you farm in terms of systems. It's known who does what, there's an organogram and all that. And then, of course, then the farm gravitates into full maturity where you've established very good systems, marketing channels are very clear, and all that. So why am I actually talking about these 6 stages of a farming enterprise? Moving from one stage of whether it's pre-establishment to actual establishment, then survival stage, early growth, rapid to maturity, is actually dependent on how well you optimize the 4 factors of production: the land, the labor, capital, and your agripreneurial skills. You actually find that sometimes you actually start at the same time with someone. Of course, resources-wise, that's another key issue. But then you actually realize others are farming better, than you. That is partly or largely actually explained in how well they optimize all these factors of production. And that's the more reason why we're actually focusing on these 4 aspects in this course, to make sure that you farm better and kind of cruise through these different 6 stages that we talked about with ease. Of course, it's not an overnight issue, and these are some of the things that we'll actually talk about in greater detail in the main course once we get to module 2 through to the rest of the modules. All right, so I just wanted to make sure that you understand the linkages between moving from one stage and exactly what kind of ingredients are very critical for you to move from one stage to the next. Simply put, it's how well you optimize those factors of production. Don't ever forget that analogy of a radio, where if you want to get the right frequency, make sure you tune it properly, be it land, your labor, agripreneurship skills, and capital. All right, folks, guess we can end this sub-module right here. So I'll see you in the next module, where we now just unbundle exactly what we'll cover in this course. Have a lovely one. Bye-bye.